news broke that a Democrat judge in New Mexico was arrested. Now, conflicting reports came out. Some were saying that he was simply detained and his wife was arrested. We have new reporting. He was charged. He was arrested. And now we've got breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The FBI has arrested a Wisconsin judge for aiding and abetting an illegal immigrant and obstructing immigration pursuit. This is a crazy story. Let's get in right away because it's getting crazy out there. The New York Times says Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested on suspicion that she, quote, intentionally misdirected federal agents away from an immigrant being pursued by the authorities, the FBI director said. The Bureau arrested Judge Hannah Dugan on suspicion that we read that in the subhead already. The Trump admin has vowed to investigate and prosecute local officials who do not assist federal immigration enforcement efforts. No, New York Times. She was helping criminals. There's a difference. If you say I'm not getting involved is one thing. If you say I will obstruct you, it's another. The case involves a frequent point of friction over immigration agents trying to arrest undocumented immigrants who are appearing in state court. Local authorities often chaff at such efforts, arguing they endanger public safety if people dealing with relatively minor legal issues feel it is unsafe to enter courthouses. In the first Trump administration, a local Massachusetts judge was indicted by the Justice Department on charges of obstructing immigration authorities. The charges were dropped after the judge agreed to refer herself to potential judicial discipline. This story is just breaking, so we'll see. Now, I did some research. This is a Milwaukee judge, and they're typically found to be they run nonpartisan. They're not affiliated with a political party. However, it has been reported this individual received support from progressive PACs and liberal issues, and for obvious reasons. It appears this person is a progressive or a liberal. Now, we do have this update this morning on what happened with this judge. Once again, a Democrat being arrested and charged over this is crazy. Video shows moment feds arrest ex-judge Joel Cano, and he was an ex-judge as of a month ago, and wife for allegedly sheltering illegal Tren de Aragua gang member. They say new video captured the moment a recently retired New Mexico judge and his wife were hauled away in cuffs by the feds for allegedly sheltering a suspected Tren de Aragua gangbanger at their home. The footage shot by KFOX 14 News showed ex-Doña Ana County Magistrate Judge Jose Joel Cano and his wife, Nancy Cano, being taken into custody following the federal raid at their Las Cruces home on Thursday. At one point, the seemingly calm Democratic judge could be seen with his hands clasped behind his back as he spoke to a heavily armed FBI agent on the sidewalk. His wife was spotted being escorted away in handcuffs by a female HSI officer. The judge was subsequently hit with a tampering with evidence charge, while his spouse was charged with conspiracy to tamper. These are Democrats that are being charged with tampering with evidence, likely to cover up that they were harboring TDA. The raid came soon after it was revealed that Cano had quietly tendered his resignation last month after the couple were accused of harboring Christian Ortega Lopez, an accused illegal immigrant who the Fed say is a member of the violent Venezuelan gang. Immigration authorities had nabbed the 23-year-old alleged gang member at the couple's home on February 28th. In a separate raid at the home of the couple's daughter, ICE recovered 4 firearms, some of which were allegedly belonging to Ortega Lopez. Cano, who served as a judge since 2011, made no mention of the migrant's arrest in his resignation letter. Ortega Lopez has allegedly been living in the couple's guest house after he was initially hired by Nancy to work as a handyman, according to court documents. The feds have alleged that Ortega Lopez has known TDA tattoos, as well as clothing and social media posts linking him to the gang. Social media photos show Ortega Lopez posing for Christmas photos of the Cano family. He allegedly entered the U.S. unlawfully in 2023, crossing the border near Eagle Pass, Texas, on December 15th. He was released just days after, with a notice to appear before a federal immigration judge. He is being held on federal charges for being an illegal alien in possession of a firearm. Man, this is crazy. Guys, I think Democrats are in on the take. You wonder why it is Democrats are on the wrong side of an issue that makes no sense. Like I was talking about this in an earlier segment. What if Democrats just came out and told the truth and said, we know they're criminals. We know they're bad people. The issue is the procedure, the policy. Imagine if they actually tried to be on the right side of an 80-20 issue, but argued against the Trump administration. Doesn't make sense, does it? Like, that's my point. If they came out and said, look, Abrego Garcia, we get it. The judges said he was MS-13 and he's being deported. We understand that. But they bypassed the USCIS interview process, and all we're saying is you cannot do that. Imagine if they argued that. You might actually get some people to say, yeah, I'm going to vote for a Democrat. So why aren't they? I think the reality is because they are MS-13, they are TDA, they are these gang members. And I'm not saying they support them. I'm saying they are. Listen, over the past 30 years, these gangs have been flooding into this country. They've been getting a foothold in this country. We've had reports going back 10, 20 years about MS-13 infiltrating the U.S. military. Do you not think that after a long enough period of time, some of these people might be judges, might be local politicians, might just be in on the take? Indeed. And so what I see here with this judge, in on the take. That's what it looks like. The judge in Wisconsin, in on the take. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, human trafficking. And if you're going to sit there and think, but how could a judge be this criminal? No, I tell you, you've got it all wrong. The judge is not a criminal. A criminal became a judge. Let me stress that again. This woman, people are going to look at her and be like, no, a judge wouldn't do that, but a criminal would. What if over 20 years, these criminal gang members had been paying off and bribing people and helping them get into positions of power to entrench the corruption in our system? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that probably makes a lot of sense. Washington Examiner says Kat Cammack laments creation of MS13 Caucus among House Democrats. She's a Republican from Florida, condemning her Democratic colleagues for taking the side of illegal immigrants over their constituents. This, of course, is a reference to Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia, Yasemin Ansari, and Maxine Dexter going to El Salvador. I think it's actually quite simple. You have two layers to this. The overt corruption entrenched in our system and the people who are marching in lockstep behind it because they don't want to rock the boat. I see these Democrats and they're defending MS-13. Here's what happens. There was this, let me give a shout out to our good friend Dean Withers, who apparently has just been going and asking random people questions because he can't handle the podcast circuit anymore. Apparently he struggles to have real conversations with learned individuals who actually do this professionally. But I can't say I'm surprised. The dude does not have what it takes, which is why he canceled the culture war debate. Well, he asked someone, a random guy, why they're upset about illegal immigration and why not just grant amnesty to everybody. Well, I can tell you a couple of reasons. The first is economics. There are Gen Z youth in this country who are trying to get jobs, and it's being displaced by low-skilled labor. We can also talk about cultural erosion, which we're experiencing, in that if you bring in a massive amount of people all at once who have a different cultural worldview than you, you create conflict and violence. Unfortunately, it's true. So mass amnesty will result in mass animosity. It's a fact. Take a look at all the cultural conflicts around the world. People with different views of things clash with each other. Sometimes not always immediately violent, but it can be. In this regard, we have MS-13 gang members, cartel members. They are here as well. Mass amnesty means we'd be giving them amnesty too. And these are people who bribe politicians and pay off cops. Let me tell you about the terror of corruption. In South American countries, you have cops who expect to be bribed, meaning you're walking down the street and a guy walks up to you and says, you did something wrong. And you didn't. Doesn't matter. You got to pay him. You have to pay him. That's the reality. It's basically a mafia. In the United States right now, if you tried to offer a cop a bribe, you're probably going to get arrested. That's not how it works in other countries where corruption is entrenched. When you bring in gangs like MS-13 or otherwise, and then give them amnesty, make them citizens, what's going to end up happening is you will get more cops and more judges and more politicians who are corrupt and don't care. The cultural issue, decay, that I'm referring to is this. A judge in a largely Latino community is going to have less sympathy for a traditionally white American community. And that is not my opinion. You can take a look at the data. Chicago is a great example. Chicago voted for their mayor on racial lines purely. There's no other argument. It's a fact statement. If you overlay the two maps, racial demographics by neighborhood and vote by neighborhood, and you put them over each other, 1-for-1, except where Loyola is, up north. This means the white neighborhoods voted for the white guy, the black neighborhoods voted for the black guy, and the Latino neighborhoods voted for the Latino guy. This is true for judges or otherwise. Now, it's not necessarily about the ethnicity or the race. Sometimes, because you can see there's clearly racial animosity in this country. But if you have an American born and bred guy who's black, he's going to be, like Clarence Thomas is a fair judge. He's in fact the best judge. It's not racial. The issue is, if you bring in a bunch of people who have cultural ties to another country, their perspective on history is related to another country in a separate moral and historical tradition, they're not going to sympathize with the arguments you make towards your moral tradition. That's the problem. That's what we're experiencing right now with the MS13 Caucus. They are entrenched in their corruption. And that's where things are going if we don't put a stop to it. It's crazy. I think we're going to talk more about this tonight because this is huge news. But I'll wrap it up there for now. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all soon.